All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, which is to say in the Paleo Hebrew, Yahweh, which is the name of our Heavenly Father, meaning He is, Bahashem, which means in the name, Yahweh Shai, meaning He is our salvation. And those are the names who the world ignorantly calls God and Jesus, okay? Who, by the way, only came for the Israelites, all right? God being the Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly calls, and Jesus being His only begotten Son, all right? Now, I came across this article a few days ago, and I found it interesting enough to screenshot and save it for a later time, which we're going to talk about it today, all right? This comes from the CBS News headline, 2 Illinois National Guard members speak out, parentheses or quotations. I won't turn against my neighbors. See? So this is what's going to set the stage for what they would call martial law and bringing in foreign troops, UN, to govern or marshal the people here in America. Because a lot of these National Guards, little do you know, they don't want to go against their own people. Okay? And they got provisions the government put in place for such an occasion if these troops, whether they're ICE, whether they're, DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, whether they're the National Guards, if they don't want to, fulfill their orders, they're going to be replaced by foreign troops, those from China, those from Africa, those from other countries, okay, that are willing to do that, all right? And dare I say, they may be even hit with treason, okay, for not obeying their superior, all right? So it says, I won't turn against my neighbors. Chicago, 2 Illinois National Guard members told CBS News they would refuse to obey federal orders, which, like I said, that could be seen as an act of treason, to deploy in Chicago as part of President Trump's controversial immigration enforcement mission, a rare act of open defiance from within the military ranks. See? It's disheartening to be forced to go against your community members and your neighbors. See, this is what's at stake here, okay? They don't want to go against their community or their neighbors, so what are they going to do? They're going to put the badge down, okay? Which is why the government already have these provisions in place, because they know the people aren't going to want to come against their own people. So they got what? Robots, okay? They got what? Other foreign people that's going to come in. They already here, okay? They're just waiting to get the go-ahead and what? Suit up to go out here and start patrolling the streets of America, all right? Because they don't have a dog in the fight. These national foreigners, these so-called Chinese, so-called Africans, so-called wherever else they come from, they don't have a dog in the fight. They weren't born here in America. They don't have those American values, okay? So they don't care, okay? And who knows what they've been promised to come over here to do this, okay? Maybe they'll get a visa citizenship or something along that line, all right? But they won't have any concern about policing the streets under this new world order, all right? Which is going to be what? Backed by martial law. It says a rare act of open defiance from within the military ranks. It's disheartening to be forced to go against your community members and your neighbors, right? And as it picks up and we get closer and closer to this thing just completely getting out of control, more people from these departments are going to think like this. And they're going to put their badge down. And they're going to be looked at as a open defiance from their military ranks, okay? And they may be put into what? Prison, okay? It says, it's disheartening to be forced to go against your community members and your neighbors, said Staff Sergeant Demi Palisic, a Latina guardswoman and state legislative candidate from Illinois' 13th district. It feels illegal This is not what we signed up to do. You signed up to serve your country in whatever shape of capacity that is. If your ranks tell you that this is what we need you to do, you're supposed to do it. Okay? Now is not the time to get a conscience and think about, oh man, I don't feel right going against my community and my fellow neighbors. Okay? It says both Pulisic and Captain Dylan Blaha, who is running for Congress in the same district, described growing unease among Guard members after the White House federalized 500 troops, including members of the Illinois and Texas National Guard, to secure federal immigration facilities and personnel in the Chicago area. And Trump is talking about deploying National Guards throughout the whole country, throughout each 50 state, okay? Throughout all 50 states, all right? Now, some states amongst this government shutdown without SNAP benefits have thought to seek to just give certain individuals like the elderly and the disabled a portion of SNAP starting November the 1st, you know. But that's just, in my opinion, to pacify, to keep these states, you know, at ease until those National Guards get there. Then once the National Guards get there, they're going to retract those SNAP benefits, okay? Because Lord willing, you know, Father will, Abba Rathasar, they don't open up this government anytime soon until they get ready to bring forth this digital ID that can lead to potentially, and that will lead to potentially, the mark of the beast, the RFID microchip. Abba Rathasar, Father will. It says, I signed up to defend the American people and protect the Constitution, Blaha said. When we have somebody in power who's actively dismantling our rights, free speech, due process, freedom of the press, it's really hard to be a soldier right now. Well, don't worry about it. They got backups for you, okay? They're going to lock your ass up and throw away the key, as they say, all right? And they got replacements for you, standing on standby, all right? Probably somewhere ducked off in a warehouse somewhere, you know, just waiting to get the word to suit up and go out there to these streets, man. Okay? They're trying to prolong it as long as they can until it's inevitable that we are now in martial law. All right? And we head in that direction. It says refusing a lawful federal order while serving in the National Guard can sometimes result in court-martial, imprisonment, see? Or a felony level discharge, depending on who issued the order, whether the soldier is under state or federal control, and the nature of the disobedience. And in some cases, they could be put to, put down, unalive, if you get what I'm trying to say. When contacted by CBS News, the Defense Department declined comment, okay? And let's see how much more of this article we got. Okay, yeah, you could read the rest of it, you know. Just type in CBS News 2, Illinois National Guards members speak out. I won't turn against my neighbors, okay? So this is where we at, okay? On the night of Halloween, you know, a lot of, you know, what you would call evil spirits, I guess. You know, people out here worshiping pretty much Satan, man. All right, this is the night they designated to open up portals and try to get goons and goblins to come through and all that madness, man. And the hypocrite church, you know, these churches, they partake in these things, okay? But nevertheless, you know, we at the point where the National Guard, members of the National Guard and other agencies as well, they starting to feel like they're going against their own community and neighbors, okay? Now, I want to pull up this video so you can see it. So give me 1 second. It ain't going to take too long. Let's go right to it.
Échate leche, güey. out of the way, bro. I'm recording you, bro. I'm not. It's my family in here, bro. It's my family right here, bro. It's my family right here, homie. It's my family right here, bro. Nah, I'm not gonna move. It's my family right here, homie. You tripping? It's a raza. Hey, don't touch me. You can't touch him, bro.
Let's read this in the book of Isaiah 19 and verse 2. It reads, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. So we're seeing these prophecies come to pass right before our very own eyes. And they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom. So we're seeing the beginning stages of this right now. These protests, these riots, they're going to turn violent pretty soon, okay? Where now you got, the people clashing against their government, all right, in the form of what? Looting, that's going to come, unaliving, and just the all-out, brawl, okay, between the government and its people, all right? Just wait and see once these SNAP benefits linger on until next year. And people don't have certainty of when they're going to get their next meal, all right? You may see less and less of Trump making public appearances, man, because the people ain't going to be too pleased with him or anyone in his cabinet, okay? As we're going to read it in the scriptures, okay? So you can see why some of these National Guards and other agencies don't want anything to do with this that's going on. But guess what? They should have thought about this ahead of time, all right? Because now they could be court-martialed, all right? So let's go to 2nd Ezra 15 and verse 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh. See, we getting closer and closer, man, for all hell to break loose, okay? And on top of that, hey, we know the mark of the beast is going to be made mandatory, and then shortly afterwards, we know the missiles are coming to destroy America, and then the elect is getting ready to get up out of here. It says, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands, right? We talking about a good old-fashioned shootout, man, all right? Because the modern-day sword is the firearm, all right? It's going to be a dog-eat-dog world out here, okay? Where people is going to be scrapping for the little bit of ends meat, the little bit of table meat that they can get, all right? And this is right where the elites, these wicked elites, want things going. Because they got to get this new world order, this charagma, this digital currency up and running soon rather than later. It says, verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. See? Trust and believe, man. Hunger pains will make you do a lot of things you wouldn't normally do to survive, man. See, that's why it's important for those of us that are seeking the Lord to continue to seek him. All right? All the way up until the end. Lord willing, we be of that number. Abba Rathazar. It says, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, which is another way of saying their governments, their mayors, and whoever else, their city council or whatever. All right? You can even throw in these agencies in there. All right? The ICE, the Fed, the DHS, whatever you want to name it, the National Guards. Okay? People are finna, give it time. Okay? Give it time. All right? We could very well potentially be witnessing the last few holidays of this wicked kingdom. That being tonight, which is Halloween, followed by the next holiday, which is Thanksgiving, and the next one after that, which is Christmas, and then, New Year's Eve. It says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Right? Because a lot of these cities, they're going to be on lockdown, man. They bringing curfews back in a major way. All right? They gave you the prelude or the warm-up back in 2020. Okay? Now they going for the real deal. They going for the real thing this time around. When they shut it down this time, that's it. Okay? And we seeing the shutdown. All right? We're in the midst of it. We're coming up on day 32. All right? Now the longest one was 35. So this one has the potential of superseding that. Lord will. Okay? Father will. Abba Ratazah. Okay? It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be destroyed. Slacky, I'm jumping ahead of myself. It says, for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled. Okay? Right now we're seeing the Democratic cities, but eventually this is going to bleed over into all cities. Republican, Democratic, whatever else. Okay? And once America is in turmoil, it's only a matter of time for the whole earth feel it, all right? Because everything is pegged to this dollar, man. And once this economy crashes and falls, that's it, man. All right? That's it. It says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread. That's a famine, all right? And for great tribulation. See? We're in the beginning stages of this, all right? This shutdown, okay? They're going to just continue to feed you excuses and lies, all right? To pander to you, okay? But what they telling you, you're going to, eventually the people are going to get wind of it and see it's not matching up to what they're saying. Okay, this week they gave us a portion of WIC or SNAP or whatever. But now, next week, we getting less and less. See? And then they're going to play the old, it's not my fault, it's their fault routine. You see? And then the people are going to get fed up, man. All right? Because those that work, they're being affected by it, because those that don't work is coming in and going into their neck of the wood and depleting their resources, their grocery stores, their, whatever else stores they got on their side of town. Okay? So all this to say that these National Guards and others alike, they don't want to take part of this that's getting ready to come. They don't want to have to, take down a member of their community or neighbor because they know that the government is doing this deliberately. All right? So they saying they don't want to do it anymore. They saying they don't want any of this. They didn't sign up for this. Okay? See? This is why this Bible is imperative, because we know never to trust our enemy. And unless you can identify who your enemy is, you won't know who not to trust. See, they trust the government. All right? They lean on that broken reed. That if a man leaned on, his hand would be pierced. So now they getting all. See? You didn't think you was just going to sign up for the military or one of these agencies and you weren't going to listen to what they told you to do and get paid for what? Looking pretty? Purdy? No, man. They hired you for a specific task and a job. You put your hand on that. I don't know if they make you swear in on the Bible or not, but you took an oath, okay? And by golly, you got to take that oath and you got to make it good. You got to make good on that oath. They want you to take down members of your own community or neighbor. Guess what? You got to do it. Or if not, what was it called? Court-martial. See? And they already got provisions and backup plans for just an occasion, because they know a lot of people ain't going to want to do it. I don't want to go against my own community and neighbors, man. I'm going to put my badge down. You're going to get court-martialed. And if you go on the run, you're going to be looked at or deemed that as AWOL, okay? And if the Lord ain't with you, you ain't going to run. You ain't going to get too far. So see, you should have thought about all this beforehand. See, that's why the Lord gave us servants, his prophets, to tell us these things, okay? Because this is only going to get worse moving forward. It ain't going to get any better, all right? And you've been warned, okay? You've been warned. So let's go ahead and close out. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. Try to make it, quick and sweet. This is the book of 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. It reads, be sober, be vigilant. See, we're telling you these things ahead of time. All right. And it's not going to get any better. It's only moving in a worse situation than it was. All right. Too much on the table, man. Okay. Either way it goes, they're going to do something drastically to bring forth the mark of the beast, man. Chaos. That's what they need. They need that chaos, that pandemonium. They need that chaotic state to be running rampant throughout the land. It's like a wildfire. Wildfire spreads, and then it spreads, and then it spreads, and then it spreads, and then it consumes. All right, that's exactly what they're doing. They're spreading the wildfire. It's going to spread until it eventually sweeps the whole land. Okay, so you can only run so far before the wildfire engulfs the whole forest. All right. Well, guess what? You're only going to be able to get so far. All right, running. All right, if the Lord ain't with you, see, and then eventually this whole land, America's going to be engulfed with fire when those thermonuclear missiles come. All right. So we're telling you to be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, yes, this system, spearheaded by the so-called white man, Esau Edom, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. By the time you figure out what he's got in store for you, it's going to be too late. Okay? It's going to be too late. All right? When you see him roll out that chip, and if you don't want to chip your fellow neighbors or community, guess what? You're going to be court-martialed and thrown behind bars. Okay? That's where it's heading to, man. That's why the president is moving in such a fashion to get more and more troops put in these states. Okay? Because these are the ones that's going to be administering this charagma, this RFID microchip. And if you got emotions or feelings attached to this place because your neighbor you knew growing up, or you was in the community that you're serving now, and now that you're administering this chip, you don't want to do it, then guess what? He's already got backup. He's already got other foreign nationalists from other countries that will do it, and they're going to have preeminence over all these people here. Okay? See? So there ain't no winning with this devil, man. All right? If you don't have Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai on your side, you're finished. You're through. All right? It's just a matter of time. All right? So be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. All right? So with that being said, pray someone was edified through this lesson. And until the next time, if it be the Lord's will, stay strong, stay in the faith. We're almost home. Shalom. Peace.